Hello and welcome to Nation States, Regional Networks, and Global Markets. I'm your professor, Gerald McDermott from the Moore School of Business in the University of South Carolina. You've already seen some videos of me for the introduction, and I just want to make a quick presentation right now. This week I'm going to give you a lot of information on how to think about globalization first and the role of institutions. And right now I'm going to give you a quick presentation about the major themes and then some of the course requirements. So when we think about globalization and we think about the integration of markets, the usual way to think about it, and this is a simplified way, is that the world is divided between rich and poor countries, right? The developed countries and emerging markets. The emerging markets basically have the large proportion, the majority of the world's population and natural resources, land. And because of that, it's relatively cheap. The developed countries, however, have the money, have the capital, they're rich, they have exports. And the basic idea that begins the debate is that through liberalization, market liberalization between countries, so we liberalize the capital account and the current account, trade and investment, say, the flow of funds, what happens? The poorer countries should sell goods based on cheap labor and natural resources, and the rich countries will give them capital, money, and technology. And then there'll be a convergence. The poorer countries will get richer and richer and richer and more technology. And we know that there was a big crisis in 2007, but even before that, there was a major change, a major crisis in the world in 2001. And you can see it in this ad. Well, what's curious in this cartoon is that this is from a major newspaper in the United States saying that globalization basically is ending because of the Argentine crisis, which is very curious because Argentina is a very small percentage of the world's population and in GDP, 40 million people, 56 million cows. Why would markets in Europe and the United States care about this? Why would government leaders care about this? And one of the reasons is because of their understanding of globalization and how markets work. The basic fear was this. It came from the idea that Argentina for the 1990s, similar to Mexico, had been the poster child of market liberalization and privatization, so market integration. And they did everything correctly. And then there was this massive crisis. So they said, well, if there was this massive crisis, how could there be a problem with our model? Because basically they thought that there's a single model of market development, of how to compete in the world, a certain way to run your institutions, to write the laws, to write the rules of property rights. And Argentina was doing that, and if it failed, then all markets would fail. There would be chaos. That's why the little place of Argentina was having such a big impact in the world. So similar today, after the crisis in 2007, we get the notion that, oh my gosh, there's a crisis in the world. There are problems with markets. We must be going back to economic nationalism. But maybe now the rise of state capitalism, where governments run large corporations and compete in multiple ways, like in China or Russia or even Brazil. Or maybe it means really we should take a pause and we'll see that there's a new way to compete. It makes us rethink about how we do innovation, what it means to do things to compete based on cost or quality or product innovation or process innovation. But it also could mean a major change in regimes around the world. If anything, the world is very concerned about the European economy and the euro crisis. Is integration of markets at an end? Well, these are some of the key questions, right? How do institutions shape markets and therefore shape strategy? How do they differ from country to country? Who are the key actors? How does that affect trade regimes or trading blocks or the integration of markets? So in the first part, we're going to develop those concepts. We're going to make you really think about strategy and markets in terms of institutions and networks so that you could do cross-national analysis. And then in the second part, we're going to do that cross-national analysis. We're going to compare different countries around the world, understand how they compete, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and also how that view of markets, how that institutional approach shapes how we understand market integration and the creation of regional trade blocks or even world trade systems. And in so doing, we're going to cover large parts of the world, lots of different levels, lots of different types of technologies and actors. Now, in terms of requirements, I want to make a focus, besides on participation on our discussion boards and our WebEx. The most important thing to also think about are the 3 short essays. You're not supposed to write an essay every class. If you look at the syllabus, you are supposed to choose 1 class per the first 4 classes, and then 1 class on the next 4 classes, and then 1 class on the next 4 classes. So you write 1 essay every 4 classes. But you have to turn it in at the beginning of that week. So if you want to write about our readings for next week, then you need to turn in that essay at the beginning of the week, but don't have to turn it in. Then you don't have to write an essay for week 3 and week 4. And lastly, you can find some more information about myself and you can go on the internet. So that's it. Now we're going to get to start on looking at a lot of data about globalization and integration.